The word depression comes from Latin and means downcast or down. It refers to a fall, a sinking or hole, which can be associated with a moment of sadness. Depression is one of the great men of our age. The use of antidepressants and the increase in suicides continue to increase each year. Going through a depression is something really unpleasant. We are all susceptible to end up in a vicious cycle of inactivity, negative thoughts, and negative emotions from which it is difficult to get out, although its position is possible with proper treatment. Next we are going to see a short video to illustrate what a person feels when they are depressed. Depression is a serious illness. You can have only depression or it can also be associated with others, such as bulimia, anorexia, etc. With our video we want people to be able to recognize the symptoms of depression, but we also want to send a message of hope. Depression can be cured. It is difficult and hard, but you can get out. Ask for help. Do not shut yourself up.
I'm really lucky that you and Dad are as understanding as you are, and I don't think that I could ask for better parents. Me and Sophie always talk about how lucky it is to have a normal and functional family, but one where we feel genuinely happy and feel loved. It's embarrassing for me to feel the way I do because you guys do such a good job as parents. And I feel like I have failed you by not being able to stay here, because you've given me everything that I could ever need, and more than I could ever begin to ask for, or even realize that I need. As I get older, I'm continually realizing what good people and parents you and Dad are, and for lack of better words, how blessed I am to have you. You guys are the best parents in the world, and I am dead serious when I say that. Our family is one that the vast majority of people in the world wish that they had. And I don't know how you did it when I was younger, how you're doing it now. I am often ashamed and angry at myself for being depressed because I am so fortunate. When I began feeling depressed, I was disgusted with myself because there are people in the world who don't have enough to eat, or are being abused, or have lost their families, and I am trying to shake this disgust, but it is really difficult. Late August, when I started here, I was excited and hopeful, and I was ready to begin my life over again. I genuinely liked myself, and I was confident in my abilities, my looks, my social skills, and I was confident that I would become even a better person here. It is so painful to have lost that. I feel like I am stuck in a body and a brain that I hate. I feel like I'm going crazy sometimes because I can't get out. I feel ugly and fat. I haven't told you this because it's embarrassing, but I've been made fun of by customers at my job about my eczema, and I've gotten comments about my weight. I used to think I was beautiful, and I desperately want to be that person again. When I walk around here on a Friday night, and see groups of people having fun, I'm so jealous. I want friends so badly. I thought that a group of friends, or even a couple friends, would be the solution to my problems. I met Stephanie and began going out with her and her roommates, and I thought I had found what I was looking for. But I found myself leaving the bar and the parties that I was at early to go home and eat or sleep. Now I realize that what I really envy of the students here is their happiness, their excitement, their optimism. While having friends is important, at a certain point it doesn't matter what friends you have if you can't consider yourself a friend. I can't explain how difficult it is to socialize when I feel this way. In the past few months, no matter where I am or the type of day it is, I can't bring myself to talk to people and realize that I wouldn't want to talk to me. I don't like myself. I don't like the way I look. I don't have confidence in what I say. I want so badly to be a part of excited, giggling girls out on a Friday night. On top of the depression, this lack of confidence is crushing. I feel like I'll never be happy, and I don't deserve to be happy. The only reason that I want to be happy is because I know that people love me and would care if something happened to me. The only reason I have to live right now is other people, and personally I don't like myself enough to care. I find myself wandering aimlessly around campus, and I feel like I'm 300 pounds, and every step I take is painful and exhausting. The world looks like it's a haze. When I look around me, I see an infinite world filled with opportunities and possibilities, and right now I feel trapped in it. It feels like no matter where I go, the haze of depression will follow me. I don't really care if I go home or stay here or live in a viaduct, or even go somewhere beautiful like a different country. I feel like wherever I go, I will still hate myself and feel depressed. This is how I know I need to go home. I literally am not functional. I can't bring myself to care about myself, let alone my classes or work. My classes and work don't feel like stepping stones to a better me or to finishing my degree. They're solely sources of stress that keep me up at night and exhaust me. I know that you and Dad care about me, and I know that Max and Sophie love me, and my friends love me, and you guys are the reason I know I need to get better. My goal is to want myself to get better for myself. But right now, you guys are the thread that keeps me from wanting to leave this world altogether. I really want to like myself and care about myself and return to the person I was a few years ago. I'm trying to plan how to do that, but right now all I can do is ask for your support. I feel like I kind of stuck there forever in a cage. I was binge eating and purging up to 10 pounds of food a day. I don't know who I am without pharmaceutical help. I've come close to killing myself so many times. Depression saying like, this is terrible. Like, you are nothing. Getting up in the morning was hard for me. Getting dressed, picking out what I want people to see me in every day is really hard for me. It takes a lot of effort. I get upset, I change outfits, I take my makeup off a couple times every morning to make sure I get it right.
Let's start by describing the main symptoms that the person who is depressed presents. I think we all have a very popular knowledge about what depression is, and about the symptoms that accompany it. The main ones are sadness, frequent crying, hopelessness about the future, and feelings of guilt or failure. When a person is depressed, he feels that he is not doing anything right, that everything is going wrong. The lack of energy on a physical level also has many implications, for example, hypersomnia, sleeping more than necessary, or, on the contrary, people have insomnia. Sometimes there is general nervousness or apathy. It is a state in which the person is very low in energy and very low in spirits. Within depression there are different types. We can distinguish between exogenous depression or endogenous depression. Exogenous depression is caused by events external to the person. For example, if I live in a dramatic or very stressful situation such as the loss of a loved one, the loss of a job, or any other situation that produces a depressed mood for me, that would be the exogenous one. Endogenous depression, on the other hand, depends much more on the biology and genetics of the individual. There are certain people who have a genetic predisposition to suffer from depression, or to have a chronically depressed mood. Depression can also be classified according to the severity or intensity of the symptoms. In mild or moderate depression, the person has many symptoms that we have discussed, but can continue, more or less, with their normal life and can go to work, even if they have a depression. In major depression or severe depression, the person is severely disabled, probably cannot go to work, cannot leave home, and so on. And then there is another type of depression, called persistent depressive disorder, also known as dysthymia. Dysthymia is a mild depression, but it lasts for a long time. There are people who can have dysthymia for years. You can watch our video about dysthymia. When the person is depressed, there is a general feeling of guilt, but the people around us have a lot to do with it, because there is a lot of misunderstanding and a lot of prejudice about depression. There is a false belief that the person who is depressed does not do things because he does not want to, or does not go to work because he does not want enough, or does not heal because he does not want to. Family, friends, and acquaintances place a lot of responsibility on the depressed person himself. Nobody would think of saying that a person is diabetic because he wants to, because he has chosen it, and that his body does not secrete insulin because he does not feel like it. However, with psychological disorders this happens very often. The belief that the person does not heal because he does not want to, that he does not get up from the sofa and does not go to do things because he does not feel like it. So we are going to explain a little the neurophysiological basis of depression. As in almost all psychological disorders, there is a part that depends on our body, emotions, thoughts. Everything has a biological basis in our brain and how it works in it, either at an anatomical level or at a functional level. It depends on whether or not we have part of these disorders. Generally, many other factors also influence. I may not have depression, but a very stressful event happens to me and that can trigger it, or I may have a genetic predisposition and be more vulnerable. At the brain level there are a series of substances that make us feel in one way or another. We are going to simplify it so that we can all understand it. The substances that are in our brain are called neurotransmitters, and they must be at certain levels so that we feel more or less emotionally stable. These substances are, for example, serotonin, dopamine, catecholamine and many other neurotransmitters. when they are in at the appropriate levels, we are more or less stable at the mental level. We are not always the same, but the ups and downs are small. When a person is depressed due to different circumstances, these levels are going to fall, or we are going to have very low levels of these substances in our brain. What is going to do is that our mood falls, and that is why we feel many of the symptoms that accompany depression, such as sadness, apathy, or frequent crying. Our mood is no longer stable, it is falling. Our brain has to have adequate levels of certain substances so that we have a good or normalized state of mind. Neurotransmitters are substances that our brain secretes when we do pleasant things, activities that make us feel good. These are called positive reinforcers. Positive reinforcers are everything I do. It can be go out with friends, play sports, read a book. For each person they are different. They are all those activities that make me feel good, that give me pleasure. In depression there are two central symptoms that appear almost always. One of them is apathy. Apathy is the lack of motivation to do things. When I am depressed or have a low mood, I no longer want to do activities that used to be pleasant to me. I do not go out with friends. I do not go out to play sports, etc. I don't feel like it. I don't have the energy to do it. A second very common symptom is anhedonia. Anhedonia is the difficulty to experience pleasure, that is, when he forced me to do those activities, or when it seems that I want to go out, I go out, but I do not enjoy as much as I enjoyed before. This means that if before when I went out to drink a coffee with my friends was a rewarding activity, now, even if I make the effort to go out, I no longer have fun as before. These two symptoms are going to produce inactivity, because I don't feel like doing things, and above all when I make an effort and do them I don't enjoy myself as before. Therefore, I am more and more inactive. As I am inactive I will suffer a loss of reinforcers. The reinforcers, as we had explained before, are all those things that made my mood go up. As I have lost reinforcers and my mood is falling, I will become more and more depressed. This is the vicious cycle that people with depression find themselves in. We saw that there is a general loss of reinforcers in the person who is depressed and is in a vicious cycle of inactivity, stops doing things and feels more and more depressed. When all these symptoms are identified, a therapy should be started. Generally, at the beginning it is very focused on the behavior. It is to start encouraging the person to go back to recover all that activity that they had lost. Then there is also a part that it is closely related to all the cognitive, beliefs or thoughts part. There may be distortions and things that we have to work on. But this explanation is important to be clear, because it does not depend on the person. People do not choose to have a certain state of mind, nor do we choose that our behavior is one way or another. When a person has depression, he is immersed in all this that we mentioned. He has a very invasive symptomatology. He feels deeply depressed, and all this leads to a vicious circle in which the depressed person enters. The note of attention must be put in the understanding that is needed by the family and those closest to them. The person does not choose to be like this. He needs support from him and a good treatment, both pharmacological and psychological. We will also explain a little the risk factors, or those things that can help us fall into depression, or if we are depressed that it is more difficult to get out of it. In the first place, on a personal level, our personality style, there are people with a strong temperament, with high resilience. Resilience is the ability that people have to face the difficulties that arise. it is our ability to overcome challenges. Negative events, we could say, a person with high resilience is likely to be better able to handle a negative situation. If we have less developed resilience, it can cost us more, and that can cause us to end up developing depression. All people, for example, who suffer the loss of a loved one do not have depression, some do and others do not. Among these factors could be resilience. Social support, the social support network that the person has. A person who has few friends, who goes out little, it will be easier for them to get depressed. Social support is a mattress, a support, in which the person supports to be stronger when something negative comes to us. The family is essential, a cohesive or united family that gives support, supports you, and then with appropriate intrinsic factors, it is more difficult to fall into a depression, although depression has an important hereditary component. We also have protective factors. They depend a bit on the personality type of each individual. Some will need more than others, for example, feeling accompanied, having good friends, having hobbies, etc. Having a job is very important. Work does not necessarily have to be outside the home, it can be within the home with housework, with raising children, but when I have an activity that guides my life, it establishes schedules, it implies responsibilities, it is easier for me to overcome adversity. If I am without work, with nothing to do, without a guide, without a schedule, without an obligation, it is easier for me to let myself be carried away to that inactivity, that loneliness. That is why it is important to have a more or less structured life, with strong social supports, with communication with the community. It can be an association of housewives or participate in an NGO, sports club, or be connected with people in any way. The early detection of depression is important. Many times it seems normal for a person to stop going out with the group of friends. We stop knowing about them. You can be a little vigilant with family or loved ones. Generally, the person who is suffering from depression does not realize it. It is the rest of us who have to give him a push and say, "No, we are going to seek help, we are going to put you in treatment," and so on. It will probably cost him a lot. The positive part is that with a good pharmacological treatment administered or assessed by the psychiatrist and combined with psychotherapy, which is what the psychologist does, depression can be overcome. So far the video, I hope you liked it. If so, I would appreciate if you subscribe and give it a like. It will help us to continue with the channel. Thanks.